What's up, Safe House family?
What's up?
We're about to hear a story on how dead things can live again. We're going to see how things can just go from complete destruction to complete victory. So now, if you want to hear how this story goes, if you want to learn for yourself how God can make dead things to live again, stay tuned for this next episode of Safe House. What's going on, Safe House family?
What's up?
We are in the living room again.
Yes.
Hey. We got some more people.
We do. We know how much you guys love it when we have people over.
Yeah, so we want to introduce to you the Terrells.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
They're a new old wedded couple.
Yes, I love it. That's a perfect way to describe it. Yes,
so
that's a good way to describe it.
Who was it, Shalimar, that sang about the second time around?
on.
Second time
Why you playing? I said if we had a wedding, you was coming in on that.
All right.
You know I love to sing. Listen, you don't get me started today, man.
All right. You know you got a song. You
I
always
know.
got a
That's
song.
what I'm saying. Shoot, I love Shalimar.
Okay.
Come on now.
All right. Remember, y'all, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so that you know when we're publishing content. And we are about to get into this.
Yes.
So, Terrell family,
Hey.
Hello.
why don't you take some time to introduce yourself to the Safe House audience?
All right. My name is Lawrence Terrell.
I'm LaShawn Terrell.
You got to remember to introduce your wife, bro. No. Right.
It's okay.
You done already got it the gate wrong, right?
Old, so it's all good.
That's me.
Yep.
It's all good.
And we're not going to redo it. We're going to let the world see this raw.
Right.
As soon as I get in the car, she's going to look at me.
Right.
Introduce me.
You ain't
Right.
see
It's
me?
all good.
And I'm your glory.
Right here. Right here,
You don't
bro.
want to introduce your glory?
Yes.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
No, this is my beautiful wife. What I've been hearing earlier, this is my world up under Jesus.
Yes,
All right, there
I
you go.
love it.
Come on,
I
right.
love it. I love it. Well, we are like so excited that you guys are here.
Thank you for
to be able
having
to
us.
have a conversation with us. I know Andre's been saying like dead things come back to life, but I kind of like the beauty for ashes piece
Yes.
because I think when we think about that scripture, we like the beauty,
Come on.
but we don't. But in order to get to the beautiful,
Yeah.
there's some ash, and
Yes,
sometimes things just have to burn up, you know. But what I love about God is that He can take that ash, just like He spoke to the dirt,
Come on.
and it became whatever He wanted it to be. We have to be able to trust that when it turns to ash and it looks like it's nothing,
Yeah.
that God can still breathe
Yes.
breath back into it.
Yes.
And so, like I said, just having this opportunity to be able to talk to you guys about your marriage, your new marriage.
Yeah.
You know, this is, I think that this is something that couples want to hear because I think it can happen to any of us.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
like I said, we spend a lot of time talking about our forever person. And some people don't stay with their forever person.
Right.
So to be able to share this story about how you are still with your forever person when it didn't seem like you were going to be with your forever person, it really is a testimony to God.
Yes, it is.
So tell us how it started. Tell us how you guys met. You know, what was your dating experience like? You know, like how did you guys get together?
I'm a star.
Okay.
Hey, this may be telling our age, but we met.
We old.
No matter how old you are,
Well,
we're older.
Yeah, we already know we older. We talked about that earlier.
All right.
We got
50 is the
married.
new
You
30,
was just
bro.
a baby.
So we were on a social media site called Tag.
Right. This is
Okay.
before Facebook.
I didn't even know that
Oh,
existed.
wow. Me
I
either.
wasn't really
Wow.
familiar with Facebook, but I got on Tag, and I was actually tired of being single and things of that nature. And I saw, I think she had a profile from right here on up, and she had a Bears jersey. on.
Come on, Bears.
So I was like, oh,
Go Bears.
I like her. So I read her profile and her description and everything. I'm like, oh, she a believer. So I messaged her, and to my surprise, she told me that she had deleted it. And then she came back the next day and she said that it actually wasn't deleted.
Right.
So then I messaged her again.
I deleted it again.
She deleted it again. So I'm like, okay.
That kind of sound like our story.
Yeah.
So she said that because it wasn't deleted, when she came back the third day, she said, let me just message this guy just so I can speak to him one time and he won't speak to me anymore. So she spoke to me and we eventually exchanged numbers. She called me, we talked, and we went out. And I feel like what you could have said on the first date that would doom you for ever seeing a person again, I said it. I opened my mouth and inserted my foot. And in that process of me inserting my foot, she said God was speaking to her.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, on that very first. And the thing of it is, this thing called tag, the only reason I had it is because my baby sister was at Mizzou. And she didn't have a phone, so the only way we could communicate was through this tag thing. And so when she left Mizzou to come here and finish at U Chicago, I was like, well, delete that. And she said, okay, I'll delete it. And so when I got the message, I was confused. At first, I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is tag? Because it had been over a year. And so when I got the message, I'm like, who is this guy? So I just kept deleting it. So it was just like, okay, God was like, no, go ahead and talk to him. And it's like, even when we were when we were out on our first date, when we went out, like the things that God was showing me, honestly, it was almost a little scary because it's just like in myself, I'm saying, Lord, I just met him, right? Because I wasn't thinking find my husband on tag. I mean,
Right.
I didn't even set it, even though I know now that's what it was for. It was I didn't know. So I'm just like, God, are you hearing what this brother is telling me? This is the first date. Like, are you trying to run me away? Who shares this? Like, no, like he was just like, this is me, and I almost felt like he was trying to say, go away, run, and God was just like, don't worry. It's going to be good. Trust me. It's going to be good. And I tell people, and I told Lawrence, I said, I felt like God showed me the rainbow before the storms even came.
Oh, wow.
Because I had no idea, because if he just showed me the storms, I might have been like, it's been real.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you. Go away. But it's like he literally, even as Lawrence was telling me all of this stuff that most people probably would have ran from, God was reassuring me. And I was just like, okay. All right, Lord.
I think that's really powerful because, like you said, when you're hearing stuff that would make you want to run, but then you also hear God saying
Yes.
that it's okay, because that to me is like a true indication that God is like, okay, this is me.
This is me.
And so
Yes.
you got to have that. We always talk about like when you're first dating, and like you said, and it's like when God is in it.
Yes.
'Cause a lot of times, when we're dating, we're like, God, you already know God,
Right.
not in none of that.
This not you.
This just me and him playing around. It's whatever.
for real.
I say that all the time, like even when we got together. So like I said, when Andre was chasing me for like a couple of years. Yeah. And
She did everything to like reject it.
I did.
I got rejected
like-
in more ways. I felt like a vacuum salesman trying to talk. I got
Kirby man.
yeah.
It was true.
Yeah, we was at a dance one time, and I was like, "Hey, we met up in a different state. I ran into her in Minnesota. I was like,
wow.
oh, hey, you here? This is magical. We run to each other." Another guy walked up and danced her away. And she went with him. She out snapping her fingers on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And I'm off to the side like, wah,
I like lost his number like several times.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I lost. Yeah. And then even when I finally got to talk to her, she was like, told me all the reasons why she was done with guys.
Right. It was crazy.
It was nuts. So
but how I knew it was God, it was. So even after I said, I promise you, it was like a 30-minute soliloquy about not dealing with guys. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not dating. I'm not doing any of that. And he said to me, so do you want to go out with me?
Right. Like
We could
that
go
was like
Sunday.
us.
And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Let's do it. And we've been together ever since. Like I said, we went on our first date August 18th, 1991. And we've been together ever since. But like you said, it kind of goes back to when you know that God is in it.
Yes.
So I got a question for you. So we also, during our episodes, we like to have cheat codes for singles, right? Okay. And so there's a theme nowadays that these ladies got to have a list. You got requirements, right? When I meet the guy, he's got to have.
I've seen it.
Some of the lists have numbers, right? In terms of bodily dimensions, income, and
all
influence that. And all of that, right? So where did the list come into play when you were doing this thing, when y'all were figuring this out?
If I can answer.
Oh, you knew about her list?
Right. I was about to say you answering for your list, right? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dre. I'm like, you got a list too? Told you.
Oh, you had a list. Okay. All right. We're going to get to your list too. Okay.
For me, it was, well, I did have what we would call preferences. I wouldn't say a list, but I mean, like in terms of physically, I was like, I had what I considered preferences, and my husband was completely opposite, like of what I thought.
Yeah.
But then I also said, like, Lord, I need somebody who won't ridicule how much I love you, like, because I used to have people like they couldn't, you listen to gospel music all the time, like, don't you, like, oh, you super saved, and and they would say it like it was a joke, but I knew that they were, it was demeaning.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I was like, Lord, I need you to show me a man that isn't ashamed of how I love you, and then it was like, and God, I might be pushing it, but if he could come from a husband wife, situation, that would be great, because I know even that comes with it, but I would like it because that's what I came from. So I'm like, I'd like that for him too. And then, the other thing was, Lord, I don't want him to be ashamed of knowing you. I don't want it. I don't want two sides of the coin, which is ironic because I definitely got a two-sided coin, but that was my list.
That was going to be my next question. So did you get everything on your list initially?
Ooh, Lana. So, mom and dad had, how many years were they married before mom went to glory?
57 years.
57
nice.
years. So we got that, check one. He liked the fact of how much, that's what he told me on our first day. So you say for real. And I'm like, what kind of women you been dealing with? What you mean say for real? So I'm like, okay, he likes the fact that, I love Jesus. So I was like, okay, that's two. I did not realize that the check mark didn't fit the third one, until a little bit later.
Yeah.
A little bit later. Yeah. So I did get it. It just maybe wasn't wrapped the way I would have hoped.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So LT got a list. It's interesting. Now, usually guys don't have a list, right?
No, he had a list.
Okay.
My list was actually spiritual checkpoints. It wasn't physically. I love the fact that Shawyn was dark skinned. I love the fact that she was short. This one I knew God was showing off, and she told me she was bilingual. I was like,
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. What do you speak, Spanish? Or?
Spanish.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, okay, God, she's bilingual. I was like, wow. So the next one was, I wanted her to know Jesus intimately. And what did it for me is, I was like, it's this one song. I went to the Fred Hammond concert, and I just wanted to hear it. And he's like, you told me you love me. And so she's like, I'll be right back. So she went in the house, came back out with commission, running
back to you.
and put the song on. Yo, I'm crying on the inside, and I'm like, I'm marrying her.
Okay.
Whole way I'm driving her to work, I'm like, I'm marrying her. So it was just like everything just started like just coming together. She was telling me, she can listen, and this may be a little bit too much. She was like, she could listen to church music and smoke weed. I said, me too.
Right. Lord, sorry, y'all. We're not advocating that, okay? Let me just put that out there.
Praise the Lord.
Lord. See, this is why I said, can we go over the answers first? My husband,
Okay.
Lord.
Love it.
But oh my goodness, but yes, this was before full deliverance.
This is right. Y'all was saved. Y'all wasn't quite delivered.
He was our savior. He just wasn't Lord over our lives yet. So
He's that now.
we don't do that no more. Y'all hear that? No more weed.
It happens to the best
It
of
happens
us.
to the best, right? We understand.
But yeah, he said he could understand that, and that's really what I meant. I was putting it in a pretty, but that's what I meant when I was like, I don't want folks to think I'm weird for how I love God, because I'm just like, that's what I listen to. So, and he didn't think that was strange, and I was like, okay.
I bet that weed led to some real intense apologetic conversations. How do you feel about the Council of Nicaea?
The funny thing is, she shared with me her past. She
Okay.
wasn't smoking weed.
Okay.
And on our first date, she was actually fasting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, that was funny.
So I'm at Beggars and I'm eating. She's just sitting there drinking water.
Discipline.
So tell them what the waitress said to me. I had to go to the bathroom.
He went to the bathroom, y'all, and the waitress came and she said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She was like, if you need help,
She was like,
ask for napkins.
right.
I was so confused. I'm just like, okay. And it didn't, and then a little bit later it was like, oh my gosh, she think I'm not eating because you won't let me. And I'm just like, and I told her, I said, I appreciate that. I said, because some people might have just looked the other way.
Wow. Yeah, that was
when
good.
I say went over my head, but she was like, you just ask for more napkins. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
But yeah. And that's really, and I told her, I said, well, no, I'm fasting, but I didn't want to put off the first date again. And the thing that I loved about him, when I told him, I said, well, I can't eat until after a certain time, but we can still go. And this man said, oh, you consecrating? I said, ooh. Okay.
You know the lingo.
I said, okay.
You know the lingo.
He like to say fast. He said consecrate. Come on.
All right.
So yeah, we knew from the beginning.
So then how long did you guys date before you got married?
Right. So that first date was what? April
what, 18th?
April 18th. It's funny, y'all said 18. Yeah, April 18th, and we got married June what?
June the 6th.
Nice.
June,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Nice.
June 5th, baby.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So with the consecrate word, he was just testing you to make sure you had a head on your shoulder, right?
I think
He's like,
so.
Because you'd have been like, yeah, you consecrate, right? He's like, no, I go to the bathroom regularly.
That part, right? He was making sure.
Right,
Like,
he was
let
making
me
sure.
see, God. Let me make sure.
Right. He was testing the waters, right?
Right.
So yeah,
So
June.
at this point, like I said, it's been 2 months, right? So you guys were like, okay, we're each other's forever person.
Yep.
You guys were like so into that.
Yes.
So now, how long had you guys been married before you were like, well,
Red
maybe he's not my...
Everything was beautiful up to this
Right.
point, and then we had these vows and probably
Right.
had a wonderful ceremony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Friends was there, music, releasing doves, carriages.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, and marched down the aisle. You probably said some real deep, dope stuff. You probably said some stuff. Preacher said some profound stuff.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, we at each other's throats.
Yes. How long was it before the bubble burst, baby?
I remember within our first 30 days, Sean said, we still got enough time for me to know.
Sure did.
And I was like, what?
That one sound
Yeah.
familiar, don't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, we said the same thing.
That's encouraging because they sitting on 30 plus. But yeah,
I said the same thing. I was like,
there's time.
I ain't got nothing. You ain't got nothing.
nobody got nothing.
We can go the way
We
we
got nothing to
came.
split.
We can
go the way we came.
We not going still. I said, if we going to be together, then we going to be together. I
Yeah.
said, but we did say the same thing.
So yeah, early on, like within the first 30, it was just like, and it still wasn't, because we would ask each other, like, you sure you heard God? Yeah, I heard God. I did too. But we were just in a place where it was like, okay, we know God did this, but maybe we ain't cut out to do it. Like we hear you, God, but maybe we not ready.
I like the fact that God shared with us that he was still God and he was bringing us together. We had a dream one night, and we woke up the next morning, like, man, I want to share with you what I was just dreaming. I'm excited. She like, oh, I dreamed something too, and I remember it, because she was like, I normally don't remember my dreams.
Right.
I was like, wow, okay. So I was like, well, let me go first, and then I'm sharing mine. And as I get halfway through, she finished telling me the rest of the dream.
We had the same
And we
dream.
looked at each other like,
Same dream.
did we just have the same dream?
Yep.
So I'm like, and so we was like, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
So, that was just something I've always pondered in the back of my mind. And I just realized that I had that moment where I heard that audible voice of God. Because I was like, God, like, I'm feeling insecure in some areas in regards to my husbandly duties. And I felt like God just, let me just email,
Yeah.
Let me just direct message you this, what
Right
you
there.
need to do. And it's like, I was like, okay, God. And then he told me too, as long as you do right by her, I'm going to continue to bless her. And it seemed like I'm hearing that, getting direct message from God, and I still went the other way.
Yep.
It's very interesting, because I was going to say, it's like both of you, like you said, we start out on this foundation of Christ
Yes.
and everything. But then, like you said, that's why I said it can happen to any of us. We're all
Anybody.
still very susceptible.
Yes.
It's like Adam and Eve. We can still choose our own way.
Yeah.
So at what point in the marriage did you feel like, okay, he's not coming the way God wants, or you felt like, because it could be both of you. Like, what were some of the signs that let you know, like, okay, this really is not going to work?
This is on life support,
Yeah.
right?
Man.
The patient is about to die.
It was ooh no we actually I would say it was, I wouldn't even say it was like one major thing, because we went through some things that most people might have been like, I'm done. I'm done with this. And it wasn't that. It was, for me, it was like the little things, like, and I shared the story with you earlier about cooking, but I don't enjoy cooking by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm like, okay, Sean, he out there doing what he got to do, at least cook for him. And I would cook. And I mean, this went on for a long time. I would cook and he would come in and be like, I ate already. And it's just like, okay, you can't even wait till you get home, or it's just like, so little things like that would just really, really, really bother me. And I start to feel like, well, why am I doing this? I mean, and to some might say, well, it was just dinner, but it wasn't that. It was the idea that was pretty much the only time that we might be together, except for like Sunday at church, that would be the only time we would have together. And he kept taking that time, he kept robbing me of it. And so it was just like, and I don't like to cook. So it was like little things like that, were the things that really started, because I thought we were doing okay with the major hits, because we took some major hits, but I was just like, I still know this is who God gave me. Lord, you showed me the rainbow, so I guess here come the storms, and I was okay. But it was the little things that were chipping away from me. Those were the things that were showing me like, I don't, he ain't ready, Lord. And I don't know if I can wait till he get there.
I'm going to be a little transparent. My father actually was married for 40 plus years. And so when we got married, I'm thinking, okay, now I can connect with my father. Now, I can get some advice from him. Now he could tell me what, I need to know, write a passage. Okay, you stepped up, you married now, you out my house, you got to cleave to your wife. So I'm like, they're going to give me some sound advice. My father flat out looked at that ball and said, "Are you on your own with that? I don't got no advice for you."
None.
I'm like,
Nothing.
Whoa, okay.
What?
Nothing.
You've been married to month for 40 plus years and you can't tell me nothing?
Nothing.
He was like, I can't tell you nothing. And so I was just like, wow. So inwardly, I started like, let me start seeking out some godly men that can help me in this, because I'm struggling. But maybe if I see how to be healed, whole, healthy, and do right by your wife, I can pick up from that. Wasn't able to find none that I could connect with, except my cousins that were in Denver. And we would talk to them like bi-weekly, but it wasn't something I could see being acted out in my life, and I regretted that, and I blamed my father a lot. And so now I wanted to start passing the buck to all my uncles and all the other men I grew up with, because they were womanizers. They were, and it's like I exemplified for our first 6 years married. I lived a single man's lifestyle
While married.
And that's the best explanation. Like when people ask like what happened, like I sabotaged our marriage. I can be transparent about that. Like all my lust, all the lust of the flesh, the lust of the ass, pride of life, I was relishing in all three of those in our 6 years of marriage. And it was nothing but the honor and glory of God that Sean didn't kill me.
That part.
And I'm grateful. And I told Sean, like, man, I really don't plan on doing that, being that guy anymore. And I said, if God give me a second chance, but I realized I was really trying to please me or trying to please my mother. I wasn't trying to please God.
That's it. Or even me.
God wasn't the goal to be more like Christ. The goal was my mother, who was a strong, devout Christian, and I'm sitting there like, but my father, tan up, and that was the example I saw. So everything I did not like that my father exemplified, I did it 2 times that.
Okay. Wow.
So now patience gone, right?
Gone.
Patience gone.
Yeah.
What patience?
So now it's time to, and not patience in terms of waiting, it's the patient, right? So this marriage is deceased now. So now it's time to funeralize it, bury. So tell us about that process.
Well, the first time that I filed, I ended up we canceled. Lawrence asked, and I said, okay, we can let's try again, and I don't even, we may have discussed it. I can't remember. I'm not sure why he said, don't go through with it, because he did not want to be married. Well, I don't want to assume back then you did not want to be married, right? At that point when
my older sister would talk to me, and she just was like, fight for your marriage.
okay, because I was wondering what
she got
triggered it.
remarried to her ex-husband.
Right.
She remarried her ex-husband. So she was like, she basically was like, did God tell you that she's not your wife? And I was like, no, he told me she's my wife. She said, well, fight for your marriage.
So yeah.
So then I called Sean, was like,
And said,
because we were
please don't do it. We
were in counseling majority of the marriage.
Yeah.
Were you really battle ready at that point?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I was shot on my leg, shot on my feet, shot on
Yeah,
my arm.
like, I mean, he was wounded.
Right, still living a
living
single
that
life.
life.
Yeah, still. And so, but I said, okay, we'll call it off. And I don't even know how long did we even last before I filed again. It was like
maybe 3-4 months.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 months. And the thing of it was, because he was telling me, well, I'm not gonna agree to it. He's like, I'm not going, we're not doing this and da da da. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I need a loophole. I said, because if I put this money out there and he cancel it, this gonna be a problem. Like I need to be free. And so I found a way to file where he wouldn't know. And then I almost missed the court date. Or was that the first one I almost missed the court date?
No, that was the second.
It was the second one. I almost missed the court date because I went to see him and we ended up spending time together. And I thought...
Quality.
Spending time.
Yeah, exactly. As he said, quality time. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Spending time.
And it's like,
right.
I'm going to leave the
Right.
Yeah, but I still knew. I still knew. Even after that, it was like, okay, that's probably the one thing that wasn't destroyed, but we're done. I still knew, like, we're done. We're done. And so it was like, okay, I have to, and our former pastor, when we were in counseling with him, he would say, LaShawn is covering you. He was like, and it's supposed to be the other way around. Like a lot of the stuff that you think you're dealing with, if it wasn't for her covering, it would be a lot worse. You might not even be here anymore. Mm-hmm. And he was like, LaShawn, at some point, you're going to have to move out the way and let God get a hold to him. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I finally realized that I can't move as long as we're connected. Mm-hmm. I couldn't, I could not distance myself. I told Lawrence, I said, I did not have the ability to be your sister in Christ. And in the roughest parts of that first marriage, that's what he needed. Like he didn't need the romantic, I'm your wife. No, he needed a sister in Christ. He needed somebody that was fasting and praying. And I was doing that, but I was so wrapped up in the wife part that my feelings were overshadowing everything. Like I was way too hurt and too damaged by everything that was going on to go to war for him the way he needed. Mm-hmm. And so I realized I have to get out of this because I'm not doing either one of us any good. And he can keep living his merry way because he knows no consequences. Like he can keep doing what he's doing and I'm gonna still be here. So I have to get out the way. And then that second time I'm like, no, we done. We done.
So did you feel like once it was done and the papers were signed, mm-hmm. did you feel like relieved?
No, it felt like death. Yeah. It was hard because no one in my intimate circle, they all felt relief. Mm-hmm. they wanted to throw a divorce party, Yeah. I was miserable. Like, I mean, I literally, and I tell people all the time, like divorce is death. And like you were saying earlier, Dre, it's like death, but they still there. It's like if they're gone, at least you don't have their physical presence. Mm-hmm. But I was miserable. And I remember I can't even remember who it was. And she said, well, you should think about divorce care. And I'm like, what is that? I was like, I cannot afford nothing else. She's like, no, divorce care is free. She was like, just Google it and see what's in your area. And when I went there, I was like, yes, this is what I need, because there they treated divorce as, because and I think a lot of people, and I didn't even realize it to that degree back then, divorce grieves God. Like it literally breaks his heart because we're supposed to be the earth's representation of what Jesus is to his church. And so it grieves him. And so that's the way they approached it. Like God is grieving and you're grieving too. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, okay, this makes sense. Y'all hear me. Y'all understand me. So for me, it was a death. I used to tease him and say, I don't think it mattered to him one way or the other, but I think that was unfair. What was it like for you, baby?
What was it like for you?
When we got a divorce, I actually, I would wake up the next day and still be reaching out for her. I was crying a lot. I think the next 2-3 weeks, I would call her and we would talk for hours, and I would be apologizing a lot. And then we would get to like something that was heated, and then we'd just blow up. And then I wouldn't talk to her for a few days. Then we'd call back, and we had these long, drawn out conversations. And for like the first 6 months, every woman I talked to was like, "You need to heal. Like we just went on a date, and you spoke about your ex-wife the whole time." And I was like, "Oh my God, every woman keeps saying this." So I'm like, I'm wounded. And then, you know, I still was going to my therapist, and I realized that it was a 14-year-old boy that she was married to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I started realizing that, and I was like, that little boy has to be healed, because I realized at 14 I got molested, and that has never gotten addressed until we were married.
Yeah.
And it didn't get fully addressed. It got acknowledged.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but the healing started coming recently, like last year. The healing,
Yeah.
the healing from me being 14 and being molested, something, you know, I'm a little boy, right? Something that affected me. It affected me almost every decade of my life.
Yeah.
And just not got addressed last year.
Yeah.
And now there's an anointing there. Now
Yeah.
there's healing there. Now I can kind of see it and discern it in other people. Like, something happened to you. You know, to the point. So once I was able to address it, now I could put the little boy in his place, and I could be the man now, be the leader, you know, be the king, be the priest. But it took me acknowledging it first and foremost, and then forgiving myself, because I fought. What they call it? A fault find. You know, it's your fault. It's your
Right,
fault.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
then
A lot of projection.
Then I want to play the victim.
Right.
Every moment.
No accountability.
I never, our whole marriage, I never wanted to be accountable.
No.
It was always other people's fault. It was my daddy's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was some people's fault when I was young. It was your fault. You know, it was your
Anybody
family.
but you.
It was your family fault. It's my family fault. It was everybody's fault except it's my fault.
Yeah.
You know, the things I can change, you know, when you look at the scriptures, Jesus said, before you go get that speck out their eye, get that beam out of your
Out
eye.
your own.
Yeah.
And, you know, God just really started dealing with me like, you have a very huge 2x4 in your
Right.
eye. They got a speck. They got a dot, but you have a 2x4. And I realized that I had to address all areas of that 2x4. So in me addressing all areas of that 2x4, now I can see clearly how to be a husband. Now I can see clearly how to love her when she's emotionally unstable. I can see how to cover her, because she covered me the first 6 years. And I spent these 9 years looking for women to be half the woman that she was.
So how long were you guys divorced?
9 years.
Wow.
9 years.
Married
Wow.
6, and
So-
we were divorced
so-
9 years.
Wow.
Yep.
So that is where we're going to conclude this episode.
I was like, okay, because I was like, let's not get deep yet.
So we just heard a story, much like when any of you that's experienced a loved one that's crossing over, that's passing away, they sometimes show that little last speck of life.
Yeah.
You know, right before the real slide happens. And we experienced that same thing. You know, you described that same thing. And so, you know, I know this next episode is really going to unlock what it's like, because I know you guys, once you got to that place and you buried this thing and you saw it and you started to acknowledge this little boy, it's like there's no hope.
Yeah.
But something happened.
Yeah.
And we're going to save that for the next episode. So Safe House, remember to like, share, and subscribe. You got to hit the notification bell if you want to see this next part.
Yes.
Yeah, we
You want to be
y'all come
notified
back.
when that episode comes
Yes.
All right.
out. All right. And so in the meanwhile, we say as we always,
Peace.